Okay, it is Wednesday, August 31st at 7:08. This is a meeting of the Marina Advisory Committee via Zoom. We have 5 members for a quorum and 1 dog. So why don't we begin announcements, open session, and public comments? Anybody have anything? Okay, the minutes. We're looking to approve the minutes of August 3rd. If you haven't had a chance to review them, please take a look now. All right, are there any comments, amendments to be made? Hearing none, do we have a motion for approval?
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting for August 3rd.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Martha, thank you. All right. All right, roll call vote. Martha,
Aye.
Ed? Ed?
Thumbs up. Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Okay, Doug?
Aye.
And Joe, aye. So the minutes pass. Okay, Harbor Master report. The Harbor Master nor the assistant are here.
Joe, did the harbor master or the assistant notify you?
No. No, and there was nobody at the Monday evening dredging meeting as well. Marina Concerns. Anybody have any concerns? Okay.
I do actually, Joe. I still have concerns about the approach to the fuel dock. I go there every day, and there's fire hoses that are hanging down with nails that are sticking out. And it's at best a situation that could create potential damage to boats. My boat is a lobster boat, so even though I care about the outcome of my hull, I'm more concerned about the general marina use and the folks that are out there that have a little bit more of a investment in their hulls and their boats when they approach that, and they scrape them up as a result of or damage them as a result of trying to tie up the fuel up.
I share that concern. I was down there the other day. There are 5 strips about 2.5 feet long, each one where the hose is completely removed and dangling down with rusty nails sticking out.
Well, can I jump in and give you a summary of my discussion with Will last week? Because
that's the next item on the agenda.
Well, related to this, Joe, that's the only reason I did raise this issue with Joe, and I'll just say that I had told him that I talked to 2 of the dock staff over the summer about the same condition before I was even on this committee. And I said, part of my, goal or hope of trying to help here is to really reinforce accountability. And I said, same thing. My boat's 20 years old now, but I care about it. And I actually have had damage to my hull from the other dock, across the way where the dinghies are. And I told him I talked to, Dave and the other younger man who left. And, they didn't do anything about it. And he told me that there's a work order that they keep in the office that you're supposed to tell them about. And I said, I'm glad I know that now, because I will, because there's no record of my bringing it up. But I brought up the same thing. And I said, it just doesn't make sense that people should have to worry about their boats. We all should put fenders out, but you can still have damage with a fender, depending on what's happening with the wind. So he got it.
It's on the record going back several years at a minimum that this committee has made this request with promises and no results. I share Dave's concern. The fuel dock is a moneymaker for the marina. And we have people visiting here with some very expensive boats. And it doesn't leave a good taste for them in Wellfleet when they're running the risk of it getting harmed.
So how do you guys typically handle stuff like this with the harbor master's office? When you make recommendations and there's no follow-up. I mean, is that something that is just continuing to be documented? And how do we get it fixed? Do we just bring a screw gun out ourselves and do it? I mean,
Well, no. As the members know, the appeal process we have is to the town administrator. I've not heard anybody on the committee, recent past, who advocates doing that.
Well, I kind of think that we've got this on record in the last, how many times has this been mentioned in the minutes, first of all? And, if we can document that back 2 or 3 meetings and say it was discussed upon again today, and I think then the minutes could be forwarded to the town administrator's office.
Well, it's not 2 or 3 meetings. It's at least 3 years. Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, do we have that in writing in the minutes?
It's on the minutes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, then we need to get copies of it that's in writing. And, I think what we should do is we should get copies of it that are in writing, even maybe not even each exact time, but maybe a half dozen times. We ought to give those copies, send those copies to Will. And then if we still get no action from that, we have a record that we sent him to him. And then if there's no action taken, then we send him to the town administrator.
Mm-hmm. Do you want me to pull those documents and to draft a note to Will to be reviewed by everybody at the next meeting? Is that what you want, Martha?
I would say so, yes.
the problem is it's another month, the season will be over. How do you effectuate a change like this quickly? That's literally a half an hour work, if that,
Well, that brings up another subject, and that is it would appear that dredging is a very remote possibility. And so the question is the September 15th haul out date going to be enforced, or do we get to do the entire season to October 15th? I was hoping Will would be here so we'd have an answer for that.
Joe, I just got a text from Kevin Coakley. He said he's trying to get in for the past 15 minutes and the host hasn't let him in.
Well, let me take a look at the screen here. I don't see anything on the screen. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on.
the top maybe.
Yeah, hold on. Kevin and Bob Hussey.
There's Kevin. Kevin's in.
Yeah, thank you. Kevin, are you on? I got to ask him to unmute here. Kevin,
I'm here,
you on?
Joe.
Okay.
I'm here.
All right. Bob Hussey, are you on? Bob? Got to ask him to unmute here. Bob, are you on? Bob Hussey?
Yeah, he's there. I see him. He's just muted.
He just doesn't
Yeah.
want to, yeah, that's fine.
Okay, I clicked him and asked him. Kevin, we approve the minutes. The harbor master, no, the assistant is not here. So we had no harbor master report. Under concerns, we've been discussing the poor condition of the fuel dock. And several people have noted that the hose in certain areas, the hose is off with rusty nails protruding at risk to damaging boats. Do you have anything to offer on that, Kevin?
These are my thoughts, Joe. My thoughts are why do we meet once a month? Because nothing ever gets done. We talk about harbor improvement, we talked about buoys, we talk about this, we talk about the parking lot. I just assume watch Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune. Other than seeing your faces, I mean, it's enjoyable, but I got better things to do with my time, as you all do, than sit here and just bullshit with each other.
Yeah,
I agree with Kevin.
Hold on. I want to respond to that with a response I just made to the committee regarding the fuel dock. Okay. And here's my response. The committee, the only appeal the committee has is to the town administrator. And in the past, people have been unwilling to suggest that. Now, Martha made a suggestion that I gather the minutes showing the problems with the fuel dock in recent years that have been brought up. Attention has not been given to it, and that we draft a letter to Will with that documentation, asking him to act upon it. That was the suggestion from Martha, and at that point you came on.
So I need to ask this. What's stopping the town administrator from, let's invite him here, like he was at the dredging meeting on Monday night. And if he's at this meeting, he hears it firsthand. And then, we can ask him, or at least enlighten him on our concerns directly.
Mhm.
I think that would go a long way in at least putting us in a position where we're not spinning our wheels. And I agree with Kevin as well. We're here every night, once a month, to talk about things that concern us, and nothing gets done.
Okay, let me take that a step further in the interest of saving all of us time, okay? We know in the past, when these things have come up, what we've heard from the harbor master is he doesn't have enough help. So if you have the town administrator here and he puts that on the table, what is your response to that? Is there going to be a response?
Well, there'd certainly be some feedback, and I would be certainly willing myself to explain to him my frustrations and my concerns. I have no problem explaining to the town administrator in a public meeting, what we've been dealing with over the past several years, and what we haven't had any action or any kind of responses, as a result of these concerns. I mean, you've got cleats on the fuel dock that are barely even bolted into the frame of the fuel dock. So a good sized boat that wants to tie onto that one is going to go adrift pretty quick if you get a good wind. So it needs to be addressed.
Well, I still think that whether the town
there are-
administrator or not, we need the paper trail. We need the paper trail that we've talked about this, and not just on the fuel dock, but on several other things.
Martha, not only is there a paper trail, it's all on videotape.
Okay.
I think this leads into a suggestion from what I'm hearing that there are several things. The fuel dock, the cleats. What about the issue of water leaking on the docks?
I had to shut the water off at 5 o'clock. It was geysering down by the public dock.
I don't know about you, but if that happened in my house, I'd be paying a big fuel bill. I mean, a big water bill.
Where was it gushing, Kevin?
Down by the public dock, the runway by the public dock.
Mhm. Okay, what other issues?
Nails sticking up out of all of the, there are nails that are sticking up at least a 1/4 inch, bent halfway. I'm worried that someone.
On the dock?
Yep, on the slippage especially.
I brought that up with Will when I talked to him, and he said he just doesn't have the labor to fix them all. That's
Come
what his response was.
There's a liability issue there. You know, someone opens their foot on one of those nails and the town is gonna own that.
Well, not only that, but in my dock, because light shingle nails were used and not stainless screws, there is wood curling up. Sometimes as much as an inch, that can cause somebody to trip and fall.
Right.
Okay,
I have another question. Did somebody fall down there about a month ago?
Yes, and the cement.
Yeah, down around D Dock or somewhere?
yeah, one of the staff from Bay Sales, John, fell down and cut up his leg. And John Wolf knew about it and told me, he asked him, John Capello, if he was willing to make a complaint about it, and John said no. I went down there after that and walked around. Not only is it a huge liability, it's a huge embarrassment. Sheets of plywood that were put down by volunteers, covering holes. And if you remember, in the fall, a promise was made that that would be a winter project to replace those.
There's a hole in the L pier too. They got a piece of plywood on it. That's a major liability. It's not, I don't even think it's nailed down. But again, we sit here and we're gonna chat about this. And nothing gets done.
Okay, let's look for a minute at process. We know all these items are on the record. We're talking years, okay? There are a couple of avenues. One is to follow Martha's suggestion and write them down. And I offer to draft a letter from all of us to Will asking for action on these. You could copy that to the town administrator, or you could go directly to the town administrator. What are your thoughts?
Or the other suggestion was we could have the town administrator at a meeting and outline all these. But I think we ought to have this all in writing, you know, a letter delineating each one of the points that we've just talked about. You know,
I think, Martha, I agree. I think we should put it in writing. But I also think we should have the town administrator come to one of our meetings, invite him to it. And, you know, put on the agenda, the Marina concerns that we've discussed that have piled up over the years that we have seen no action on.
Okay.
I don't see where that can harm anything.
Okay, now, if we were to do that at the next meeting, that would eliminate Martha's suggestion about sending a letter to the harbor master beforehand. Just putting it on the agenda with a list of these items for the meeting.
I think that would be common courtesy that write a letter to Richard and just CC Will on it, just so we're voicing our concerns and then discussing it at the next meeting. We're just not blindsiding anybody. We're giving notice with our concerns. And as I said, I really enjoyed being on the committee and seeing everybody's faces, but
why don't we do it? Why don't we do it another way around? Okay, so we don't cause like tons of dissension here. why don't we write the letter to Will delineating each of the concerns that we've had at this meeting and CC the town administrator on it and invite the town administrator to the next meeting?
Can I jump in here?
Yes,
Martha, I think that's a great idea, and I'll tell you why. If I can digress just for a couple minutes, tell you about my conversation with Will, because I just wanted to call him as a new member here and let him know my goals. I'm not trying to get his job. I don't want anything. I'm trying to help, right? And so we had a good, really open discussion, and I actually appreciated a lot of what he said, but I've raised a lot of these issues that we're talking about, such as the fuel dock. And most of you guys don't have to deal with a dinghy dock on the other side at Indian Neck that I do, because I have a mooring, and you know, the metal rods sticking out of it, so you can't even pull your boat up to it. And if you do, it'll rip your hull apart. And the boats that are just stuck out there without engines that take up all the space, you know, a lot of things. And, you know, one thing I think we need to be concerned about is put ourselves in Will's position. I'm not saying he does a great job or a bad job, but I think sometimes he feels like anybody in his position could feel like they're being attacked. So I think taking Martha's approach, which is documenting a letter of things that have been raised, you know, is a great way to kind of avoid the attack concept. But I told him that the easiest way to get all this stuff, you know, fixed and avoid confrontation is to just fix it. And to me, that's accountability, and doesn't take a huge amount of effort, although he does have labor issues, which I totally appreciate. And I think we all do. You know, it's really just him and Dave Perry, I think, at this point, and still trying to staff the place. But, you know, I'm sensitive that, you know, he'll push back, and I don't mean, you know, I don't care about personally, but, you know, it won't be a productive meeting if he's not notified in advance of the issues that we really have been raised, you know, by the group, really need to get repaired for a lot of reasons, outline them, and then, you know, CC the town administrator, which I think is a great idea, because it avoids the direct contact.
CC the town administrator and invite the town administrator there. And because, so then if it is a help issue, the town administrators, you know, like totally aware of it, and,
Right.
you know, and we're doing it in support.
I mean, the reality is, guys, what does it cost to have a kid, a maintenance person who's a summer kid? If you can find one today, kids don't really work anymore, it appears, but you know, $4,000, I don't know, to just do maintenance, put screws in and fix rub rails. And, you know, it's just not that much money. If that's what the budget needs for 2023, at least we set it up for it next year, you know?
Let me respond to that, Doug. This matter has been going on for several years, okay? I appreciate you're just coming on board, okay? But these issues have been brought up many times, okay? And I really share Kevin's frustration. I think we need to, I'm happy to list all these things, you know, with a letter to the town administrator, CC'd to Will, or vice versa, with an invitation for the town administrator to attend our next meeting, okay? But there's a pattern here, and the pattern has not been broken, okay? We raise the issues, 1. 2, they're acknowledged by everybody as a problem, okay? Promises are made, 3, and then there's no follow through. Now, I was at the town's finance committee meeting a year and a half ago when Will asked for $20,000 for additional help, and they gave it to him. He may just have himself and Dave Perry now, but that hasn't been the case all summer. It comes down to a management issue. And so what I try to do, in the interest of not increasing frustration, like Kevin articulated and others, is to anticipate, you know, what we are going to be dealt with in a meeting. And again, there's that pattern. An example is last fall, a promise was made to replace the concrete docks and to deal with the water problem over winter. That was not done. Now it's on the tape that Will's response, I made the suggestion with that money available to hire a carpenter or two to build some docks. Will's comment was, you can't find any carpenters in Wellfleet. I offered to find a few, okay? So I think the committee has to anticipate the responses we're going to get that we have consistently gotten in the past. And the ball is on our lap as to whether we're going to do something about it or not. And
Wow.
that first step sounds like, what we're looking at is that letter with an invitation for the town administrator to attend. But speaking for myself, I have to say, there's a pattern there, and Kevin's right. It is nothing but frustration, year in and year out. All of us have been on the committee at least a couple of years, okay? And without addressing breaking that pattern, I don't see anything happening, and I don't want to lose members on the committee. I'm offering to compile the list that you just made. I'm offering to compose a letter to the town administrator, CC'd to Will, and make an invitation to the TA to attend the meeting. Tell me if you want to do that or if you want to do it differently.
The only thing I would add, I don't see any reason, I don't know what your guys' schedule are, but I've seen it work every night anyway, so what the hell's another night? Why don't we just try to have another meeting sooner so we don't have to wait till the end of September? Do you guys, I don't know what you typically do here, but we can invite you to a meeting next week, a special meeting, and to go through it then. Why wait a month?
It's gonna be advertised.
Does it?
We could do 2 weeks.
2
I was
weeks.
going to bring that up. Is that what you'd like to do?
It's just a suggestion. I have no patience, so I'd like to get things out and done. That's my MO. So, if you guys don't agree to, if you want to just do monthly, that's fine. But I'm happy to make another hour available some night if that works for everybody. If not, that's fine too.
Well, 2 weeks, 2 weeks would be September 14th. What do you think of that?
I think it's fine.
Okay,
I
Now-
agree.
yeah, okay. So that
Joe, I
the,
want to mention, if I can interrupt for a second. Will has hired a couple of new people that I think have done a pretty darn good job attending to the fuel dock. Been there. I go at least once a day for the entire summer. I'm there at least once a day, sometimes twice a day. And that individual or one of those two individuals have been there waiting for me for 90% of the time. And I'm pleased with that result. This one individual, his first name is Scott. I don't know his last name, but he does a great job. He's down, he's pulling the the diesel nozzle off of the thing himself and bringing it over to me. He's looking to see if he can assist in tying up. That's huge, and that's one of the things I asked for.
I'm in a meeting.
So I think that's a good thing. I just think that maybe some direction with regards to what Doug had mentioned, accountability when it comes to
Hello?
some of these little checklist things that need to be done. It's as simple as, when you come in during the day, you have a bulletin board or, a chalkboard that says, today, I want you to, go down and shore up all of the hoses on the fuel dock, or, take a box of screws and, take care of those boards that are warped over on B dock. Simple stuff. It's just not being done. I don't know why. And these guys, I'm sure if they were directed in that way, they would do it, because he's certainly diligent about getting on the fuel dock and taking care of the things that I need during a day-to-day basis. My frustration is that the things that we've been asking for many, many years now still, are dormant. They're there and they're a problem. They're an issue that, need to be addressed. So I don't know if it's management or if it's just organizational skills or what it is, but that part of it needs to be implied to this whole process where we're going forward with this. And that could be done in a discussion with the TA. I'd rather do it with Will directly. I've done it with Will directly. And I think a few of us have done that as well. So I just would like to see that stuff done rather than it stay in its current state, which is to me unacceptable.
You have talked with him, others have talked with him on the committee. We have complaints from people who have talked to them. Certainly Ed Kane's situation, serious liability issue and safety factor, was almost 3 years, if I'm correct, Ed. And it took that long to get done until finally Ed went directly to the town administrator and it was resolved. So it clearly is a management issue and there has not been a positive response. So the ball is in the lap of the committee as to what you want to do here on out. And I think a good start would be documenting it with a letter to the TA, copy to Will with an invitation to the TA. Now, you would have to make a motion for me to write that letter without your seeing it, or review it at the next meeting in 2 weeks for your approval. What would you like to do?
I still think we should write the letter to Will with a copy to the TA and then invite the TA to the meeting.
But I
That's
think
fine,
I like
Mom.
your.
Yeah,
Joe,
could you
I like
hold
your-
on a minute? I think I may have an emergency phone call here.
Martha, that's fine. I like that suggestion.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I mean, listen, let's put the elephant on the table here. We're all spinning wheels. There's
Okay,
a lot of-
Kevin, what did you say while I was answering the phone?
I agreed with Martha that would be the, to defuse the situation a bit and address the letter to Will first and then CC the TA.
With an invite.
With an invite to the
Right,
next
with an
meeting.
invite. And this is another continual paper trail that we just keep going.
Well, Martha has an elephant on the table that I want to hear about.
Well, what I was going to say is, I think we all know that there's a lot of animosity here and a lot of bad blood between Joe and Will. And I think that, we need to diffuse the situation by not blindsiding him, by going over his head to the TA first. That's why I think we ought to give him the opportunity to have the letter first with the TA, CC'd, and then invite the TA to the meeting and see what happens. Because, we've got to try and work with him. And
Martha, I'll take that one
Hold
step.
on, hold on, Kevin.
Okay.
Kevin, hold on.
Yeah,
Martha, why do you make that statement that there's animosity
Well,
between?
because I've watched some of the select board meetings and, and I've watched some of the other meetings and, and Will gets bristled, and, he feels like he's being attacked sometimes, I think. And I don't know why. I don't know whether that's because he doesn't have the experience in difficult situations, or whether, it pushes hot buttons with him. But, come on, there has been a lot of give and take here in a lot of places, You were all upset with me when I supported Will to be the harbor master. And, and I had my reasons for that when I went through the interviews with a lot of the different people. And, and I will be the first to tell you right now, I mean, I've had a lot of different meetings with Will. I think that there's some things he does good. I think he's trying, but I've also been disappointed in a lot of things like this that aren't done, and so I think that we need to work with him to the best of our abilities, without creating an antagonistic situation.
And has that worked, Martha? You've been doing that for 3 years. Has that worked?
Well,
Martha, let's stop a minute. I'm going to make a response. Okay? Because I really think that some things you're saying are just flat wrong. And I want to be on the record. First of all, I voiced my concern to you as a citizen and as a voter with what I saw as a flawed interview process shared by many in this community for the selection of the harbor master, which is my right as a voter, as a taxpayer, as a member of this committee. But let's move on.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. Let's move
You,
on.
no,
And
no,
wait a
no,
minute,
no,
wait a
Martha,
minute.
no,
Let's-
please. Martha,
Okay.
you're interrupting me. I don't interrupt
ahead.
you.
No,
I
go ahead.
sat here and I listened to you. I'm asking for the same courtesy.
I'm giving it to you, Joe.
You said to me, I've watched a lot of select board meetings. I appeared at the August select board meeting. I was ordered to on the dredging issue. I have not appeared at a select board meeting in 3.5 years prior to that. Now, if you watched that meeting, you saw me make a statement that I have been the victim of a vicious smear campaign that has been perpetrated by several town employees, starting with the harbor master. This is a small town. There are no secrets here, okay? The fact of the matter is, and watch the tapes in the dredging task, watch these tapes for the Marina Committee. I have never stooped to that level. I treat him with dignity and respect. I don't get that in return. There are members here who have witnessed my interaction with Will. I'm polite and I'm dignified and respectful. I will not stoop down to that negative smear level, and I have not done it. And David can back that up because he has witnessed that.
I
I
can't.
have encouraged him so many times and attempt to support him. That's, thank God for the videotapes, because that's all there. So I think you're way out of line talking about animosity both ways. It is strictly.
Joe, wait a
way.
minute. Joe, listen, there's no reason for any of us to get really upset and hot about this.
Well, when you make those
Joe,
accusations,
listen to me.
you're going to get a comment. Those are strong accusations.
Joe,
and they're
listen to
not
me.
true. They're your opinion.
What we need to do is we need to move forward on this committee, documenting things and writing things down. And we need to address these things with Will, and we need to do them so we don't have him cornered. And we need to have him have a response. And if he doesn't have the correct response, then we need to deal with it, okay? But I'm,
I
know,
don't think anybody's trying to corner Will, Martha.
Not
I
at
think-
all.
I think what we're trying to do is ask him to be accountable for his job.
absolutely, and I will agree with that 100%. That's why I want the letter written, and that's why I want everything delineated in that letter.
I've always said, and I've mentioned it to him on many meetings, they're on recording, that I want to make your job easier, not harder. I'm not trying to make it difficult for you. I'm bringing to your attention things that need to be done. I'm asking for accountability. I'm asking for, action, job action when it comes to things that, are our concern. And, you're correct. I think sometimes, Will takes it personal. And I think you recall a meeting back in January or maybe even September of last year. I mentioned to that effect that I said, you've made this personal, and it's not personal. It's business. It has to do with us trying to do the best for our community and making sure that what we see as a marina goes forward in a way that's productive, that streamlines what we're looking for, and that we want cooperation and coordination. We'll be happy to do whatever we can to make your job easier. But it doesn't seem as though that's the case. He's personalized it with me on many occasions, and and that's unfortunate. And it's never been personal for me. I like him as a person. I think he's a good guy. I could talk to him about everything under the sun outside of this marina. But when it comes to the marina, we have our differences because he seems to want to do it his way at his timeline and everything else. But, we are charged as the Marina Committee to see things that are, not in, focus with, what we expect. And we want to make sure that those things get done. I'm kind of being general about this, but there are very specific issues we all know about that have fall to the wayside. And they haven't fallen to the wayside on our part because we go meeting after meeting and talk about it. And like Kevin said, nothing gets done every time. Nothing gets done. What's the common denominator here? Why isn't anything getting done? Where's the cooperation? It has to be both ways.
At the
Dave,
August-
Dave, I totally agree with you. I think you've just stated it and you've put it in very good words. I think that we all think the same thing that you're thinking. And, I think that we've all talked to Will about, various things and, there are a lot of things that have not gotten done. And that's why we need to have a paper trail on it. But I think that what you just stated is very true and very right to the point.
I just don't think Will and Joe, I don't think Joe has showed any animosity towards Will. I think Joe has done what he has to do as a committee member, as the committee chief, to try and, implement our concerns. And they're not falling well. They're not, he's not dealing well with them. And right, wrong, or indifferent, he has the last spin on it because when the meeting's over, there's an opportunity for a conversation behind the scenes, whatever it is. And, politics, whatever you want to call it, it's unfortunate, but Joe's intentions are laid well. And all he wants is what I want, what you want, what everyone on this committee wants to do the best for our.
I think Joe's doing an excellent job here. And I think it's really done well. But I do think that we need to get something done like everybody else has stated. We talk about this stuff and we talk about it and nothing ever happens. And so we pass a motion here? Didn't I make a motion at the last meeting? I'm just trying to remember what it was about something in particular that I don't think anything's been done about. What was it? Joe?
Moving the no wake buoy, I think was the issue.
That was one of them. Yeah.
And I did mention that to him during my discussion, and I said, Joe, well, the easiest way to not have to battle on these issues is just to do what they asked you to do, which is write a letter to the Coast Guard, and you get closure one way or another. Either they're going to approve it or they're not. At least he's done his job, and it hadn't been done since our last meeting. I talked to him last week. He just didn't do it. So
I'd like to share one aspect of this, which is very telling, which all of you, except for Doug, were involved in. At the August meeting a year ago, we discussed, it's on tape, it's in the minutes, the buoy problem in the channel, the lack of some buoys. And Alfred Pickard was there. And the discussion was around putting them where they should be accurately because we were getting complaints. Bob Cosavera in the last meeting, you saw the documentation, okay? The Army Corps of Engineers controls the channel, not the Coast Guard, okay? I made an offer to Will at that meeting that I've worked for 11 years with the Chief of Navigation of the New England Division of the Army Corps of Engineers. It's in the minutes. That I offered to call him. Will accepted my offer. I reported back in the September meeting that the chief told me, just have the harbor master send me a basic plan identifying where he wants to put the buoys, and I'll approve it. Okay. Walter made a motion which was passed that will provide that plan by December 15th at that meeting. Okay. Will said that he needed help. 3 members of the committee offered help. David, Flip, I don't know if there was a third one.
Kevin.
Who? Kevin. And then Alfred offered to pay for the buoys. He would donate them and donate some labor. The motion passed. The plan was supposed to be implemented over the winter, ready for the spring. In the April meeting, I brought it up, okay? It went nowhere. Committee members did not push it. I dropped it. But I can tell you, as a result of my bringing it up, I was attacked by Will. That's given to me by several reputable people. My question to you is, every time I do that, I get attacked and smeared. As David can tell you, Will told him candidly that he thought David and I were out for his job. Will told me candidly, to his credit, at one point, that, quote, I have no effing use for that committee. Okay? When water was gushing out of the pipes where my boat is, I mentioned it to Will. I thought he wanted to hear it. The pump is running all the time. We're losing water. And he told me I was nitpicking. I went to the hardware store. I bought the valves. I replaced it myself. That's the pattern that has been ongoing here. And I know not everybody is down at the harbor every day. David and I are. We see this stuff. We see the kids sitting in the office playing with the iPhones, nobody minding the fuel dock. At 4 o'clock when people are launching and hauling out, it's a zoo there and it gets crazy with tempers flared. I'm tired of sticking my neck out and bringing these issues up.
Well, then
Yeah.
I think, like I just said, this all needs to be documented. You know, it needs to be
Martha.
documented so it can be addressed. That's
Martha.
all I'm saying. And we talk, and then like, just wait a minute. We talk about this and we talk about this, and things do not get done. And it just needs to, like Kevin was saying, it's just around and around and around. And we need to either make motions and document it and follow through on it.
Martha, it is documented. I just referred to one case scenario. It's in the minutes. The motion is in there. It's
Okay, but then, okay, all right.
wait, it's on videotape.
So
It's-
then how are we following through when it doesn't get done? How are we following through when it doesn't get done?
Well, I answered that question earlier on, okay? Two parts to it. One, at several meetings, quite a few, when these issues come up, there's not strong support to follow through. Some members remain silent. Secondly, the appeal avenue, if we're not happy, is to the TA. But not everybody is willing to do that. Some people have said to me candidly, I'm not in favor of doing that because it'll result in retaliation against me. Some people have come to me and said, I'm in transient slips. And I know if I complain, I've been moved out, you know, there'll be retaliation. David knows all about this. He's heard it from people. He's down there more than all of us. So I agree with you completely. The documentation is there. But when you ask the question, well, how do we get things done? I gave you the answer, the appeal. That's legally what we have. The appeal to the TA or the select board. I would never go to the select board. You go up the ladder, you go to the TA. Kevin.
You're on mute, Kevin.
Kevin, you have your hand up? You're muted. I'm going to click you.
There we go. I was
Okay.
talking to myself again. Just moving on, right now we have two options. Joe can write a letter that we can't review, or we can review it at the next meeting.
Yeah, I'm unwilling to write it without being reviewed. So let's.
And I think that's a good suggestion. So why don't we make a meeting for 2 weeks, review the letter, and move on from there? Is that agreeable?
I agree.
Ed,
I'll make a motion that we do that.
okay,
Fine with me.
I second it.
All right. I'm going to write this down. Martha, I'm going to write down, you're making the motion. Let me write something and you tell me, Martha, what you want in it. I'm writing this as I speak. The Marina Advisory Committee directs the chair to draft a letter of serious marina concerns,
Continuing,
I think continuing with
a
the
letter of ongoing serious marina concerns. Is that what you want to say, Martha?
ongoing, yep.
Ongoing
Continuing,
marina
I think was, yeah.
concerns, addressed to the TA, Martha,
Oh, no, addressed to the harbor master with a
who will copy to the
copy
TA,
to the TA and an
with
invitation
a invite
to the TA to our next meeting.
of TA to next meeting. Is that it, Martha?
Does anybody else have anything that they want to add?
I think that's good.
Okay,
Sums it up.
Hey, Joe,
yes, Ed.
is that the meeting that would that hint that that's the meeting, the special meeting in 2 weeks or the next
Yes.
monthly scheduled meeting?
No, and I'm hearing 2 weeks.
well, how's that gonna be reviewed though?
To
To
review
be
the letter.
reviewed and finalized in 2 weeks, and then we could have the meeting the following 2 weeks.
Yeah. So, I mean, the meeting on the 14th doesn't have to be like really long. It's just,
No,
Not like this one.
no.
And by the way, I'm happy to have you send it around, Joe, in an email and we'll send comments back.
well, that would be in violation of the open meeting law, okay? There can be no deliberation via email. I mean, I can send it out before the meeting.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, and we can provide comments back.
Yeah, I'll send it out before the meeting for your review, so we're ready to go when we meet. Ed, did you have a question or a comment? Ed?
Yeah, no, I think the approach is reasonable. Joe, I feel your frustration because there's nothing new here. We're not raising concerns that no one has raised before. I'm frustrated as a member because the nature of our committee is advisory. And that's just the way things are. And so in my view, we have a duty, we have an obligation to apprise the harbor master of things that it's critical that he be aware of and give him the opportunity to address and to remedy. But the accountability of the harbor master's job, his performance, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, is out of our bailiwick. And to me, that's where the complication comes in. And in a highly effective fraternity, if I could call it, of boaters and public servants, the harbor master would see us as a resource. He'd see us as allies. He'd see us as eyes and ears that are teaming with him to make the marina a world-class operation. Overstated maybe a little bit, but a highly effective, profitable organization. That's not the response we get. It's not the response we get individually. It's not the response we've gotten formally. And so I think this is the wise approach, is to basically, I think that this correspondence should just remind him, call to his attention, these have been chronic issues that have been brought up, and we're concerned that we're not aware of any plans or ongoing efforts to address these remedial issues.
Well, he told one of us, who did he tell? He has a work list. Was that you, Ed?
No,
Well,
it's me.
actually, Mackenzie, if you recall,
Doug,
at the June meeting, if you recall, Mackenzie told us that they had a list that they were actually going around proactively and looking for discrepancies to correct and documenting them so that they'd be able to follow up and get things done, which is when the invitation was open. And I said, I'd love to have my dock looked at, the one where when I stand on the end of it, my feet are in the water. So I was thrilled to get that invitation. I was encouraged to hear that there was such a mechanism to go out and look for issues that needed to be addressed. Now, the fact of my experience was 2 weeks later, when I sent photographic evidence of me walking on water and nothing had been done, a couple of folks said, you need to bring this to the attention of the TA. And I did. And the next morning I got an email from Mackenzie saying, we're pulling your docks and fixing this. And by 4 o'clock that afternoon, I had an email from her saying, we fixed it. It's back in the water. We had to move your boat. You might want to check your lines. So in my perspective, what this comes down to is a matter of relative priority among competing priorities. We're an advisory committee. If the TA tells him something's important to him and he needs to put it at the top of his list, it'll get done. If we do some correspondence that we reach out to the harbor master and say, we're concerned about these ongoing issues, might even be worth saying from our perspective as boaters, we see some relative priority among these. These are urgent, these are important, and these just need to be on your list as visible that need to be tackled. And see if we can encourage opening a dialogue. Do you agree with these priorities? Do you disagree? Well, none of us have unlimited resources. We've all been in positions where we've been told we had to do more with less. Well, then most folks put in that position say, here are the resources I have, and here are the priorities that I see. And frankly, if he were to do that, I think he'd buy himself a lot of not only credibility, but he'd buy himself a lot of sway, because he'd go back to the TA and say, here's how much I can get done based on the resources I have. So you know what I know. And here's what I think the important things are. Here's what I'm going to tackle. And if there's something that's not on the list, tell me, because you're my boss, and I'll move stuff up and I'll move stuff down. Or you can give me more resources, I'll get more done. I'm not sure any of that is happening. I don't see any evidence that it's happening. And that's part of my frustration.
my only comment to that is with the resources he's had, many of us feel that they have not been properly managed. People not manning the fuel dock, people not at the dock welcoming people and helping them to tie up, people not out at the launching ramp, helping people when they're having frustrations, people driving around them, backing down, and on and on. The list that David has compiled.
Right.
I'd like to lead into the next item in the agenda because I think it is connected to this. Doug had asked it to be put on. The slip and mooring procedure issues, notifications, deferrals, seasonal transient slip policy, and fees. I've had a lot of comments from boaters about this. I think some of you have as well. Doug?
Well, so let me, I guess, step back and then I'll step forward for a minute. But, when I thought about, joining the committee, I made a list of things that were important to me that I've seen. And just given my experiences, I thought I'd try to put on a piece of paper for my own free thinking. And some of them are, as simple as trying to raise revenues by, whatever way and whatever. Obviously, one of the it goes way back, I've been around a long time like you guys have. I just haven't been as involved, is the whole process of how slip waiting list works. And, it's easy to know you pay your 10 or 20 bucks on whatever, and you get on a list. Well, somehow I was on the 20-foot, the outer docks, because I have a 21-foot center console. And then miraculously, I finally found it on the website, which, by the way, the website still has information from 2020, which I don't know why nobody's looking at it. But I found the slip waiting list. I wound up on a 25-foot slip, which, as you guys know, there are a lot more of those outer 20-foot docks than there are 25s. So I was pushed over there and effectively pushed me back until I dropped dead, I'm sure. I'll never get a slip. And if that's the case and it's legit, then that's fine. But the whole, how that all happens is a mystery to me and always has. And I've been lucky enough to be on, get seasonal transients, on and off for the last few years. Started with Mike Flanagan, allowed me to buy my way in for a couple of months, and I took the opportunity. But how does it really work? So when I talked to Will in our call last week, I said there's got to be, marinas must have figured out how to manage this somewhere. And I know this is a municipal marina versus a private one, but it's like a country club. When you're on the waiting list, you're on the waiting list, right? It's there's no transparency at all. And to give you an example, and I brought this up with Will, I'm a pretty candid guy. I paid the non-resident transient slip rate. And his response to me was, even though I didn't the last few years that I did have it on and off, I paid the resident rate, which I don't know why there's two of them, and his response was, well, if they charged me the $60 nightly rate, it still cost a lot more money. So it's a deal. And I said, if that's the policy, that's the policy. But I want to make sure that everybody's paying who has a transient seasonal slip pays the same rate I'm paying. And, he didn't offer to give me that documentation. And honestly, I didn't ask for it. But it just seems like there's so many unknowns on how that works. It seems it would be helpful for everybody who's in my position, and maybe some of you guys actually, I don't know, to put that, amend the rules and regs on that so it's more clear and people can see it and everybody knows, and there's no question about how, Dave Perry got a slip as an assistant harbor master. I don't know if he was on the waiting list, but he might have jumped ahead other people. Just to try to create more of a policy that's transparent to everybody. And you know where you are on the list every year. I'm happy to continue paying. If I don't get it, I don't ever get it, that's fine. And also the things that go with that, like, how you defer. There are people who have deferred for years. There are people on the list, and I know one of these guys' dads, he used to be a commercial real estate broker, and the kid's name is on it now. I think dad died 20 years ago, and he's been on the list since 1986. I don't even know if he lives in Wellfleet anymore, if he has a boat, so how does that all work? So I figured that's something maybe we can all work on. I know you guys don't typically do subcommittees. I'm happy to help however, but it's just one that impacts me personally, but also a lot of people raise that question or the issue with me when I'm just talking to people I know who have boats.
Comments?
Accountability,
Go ahead, Dave.
not just accountability is the word.
Doug, do you have a lease?
I have never signed a lease ever.
Have you been required to submit a certificate of insurance?
I have been asked that, and I actually do submit that, whether I have a mooring or my slip. Yep.
Okay.
I provide it on my own. I'm not sure anybody's ever asked me for it, but I know I need to do that.
Martha, do you have a lease?
As far as I know, I do, yeah.
Well, it would be an annual lease that you'd have to sign, Martha.
Yep.
Kevin, you have an annual lease? Yeah. If you look-
And $1 million liability insurance as David does.
Yep.
Yeah. If you look at the marina rules and regulations, I was on the committee at that time, participated in the writing of them, dated 2010, amended in 2012 for moorings, including moorings. I've gotten a lot of comments from boaters who swear there are people who don't have leases, like Doug doesn't, who have not been required to provide certificates of insurance. I see that as a huge liability issue. Some of you are around when the Navigator sunk. Fortunately, it didn't sink in the channel. But if a boat sinks in the channel, there's oil leakage. There's no insurance. It's on the town's dime. And we all know what would happen and the havoc it would create down there. It's in the rules and regulations. I suggest everybody read them. Doug requested, he took a look at them. There are other things in there that might catch your eye, that liability not being covered. But without committee support, I think the issues Doug has raised are valid concerns. But the committee has to address that as a committee as a whole.
And just to be clear, when I talked to Will, he was open to working on it. I think it actually helps him. And that's why my whole conversation was really pitched. I told him I'm not trying to be adversarial. I'm trying to help and make his life better and easier. And he was open to that. So I don't know how you all work on that, but I think, people, I've been on the waiting list, I believe, for 20 years now. They have me down for 2005, but I bought my new boat in 2002, and I believe I paid, but I don't have records from then, but whatever. I'll probably never get a slip, to be honest with you, unless I have a transient seasonal, which I'm really appreciative and thankful for. I'm happy to pay whatever that fee is, even though
Are you paying that as a taxpayer?
as a taxpayer, no, a non-taxpayer rate. He said that's what they do. And all transients are now considered non-residents, which is fine. You know what? If everybody's charged that and that's the policy, fine. But if everybody is not, and some people are paying a resident rate and others aren't, then I shouldn't be charged. I should be refunded the difference. Now that's,
Are you
Can you
considered a
repeat that
resident? Joe?
again?
yeah, I'm a resident anybody who pays over $400 a year in real estate taxes in town is a resident for this
No.
purpose.
How can they do that then? I don't understand how they can charge you a non-resident fee or rate when you're a resident.
Because I think, well, his comment to me, and again, it wasn't argumentative, was by definition, anybody who's transient is considered a non-resident. And I would dispute, I could come in on weekends, for example, and just put my boat in the slip for a couple of days. Would I be charging the same resident or non-resident transient rate? I don't even know if there is one. Has anybody ever seen that? A non-resident seasonal rate on the rate sheet? I don't think
Have
so.
you always been charged as a non-resident?
Yeah, until this year.
Well, last year, were you charged as a taxpayer?
I didn't have the year before I was charged as a taxpayer. It was $1,200
So
instead
what
of
is the rationale for the change?
that's the policy now. Now, what I don't want to do is make this all about Doug. You know what I mean? To me, this is more about policy and transparency of what the what the program is for.
So
for this
there are a half a dozen people, at least in your situation, who have complained about that to me. Okay.
Yeah.
And all I say is I'll bring it to the committee's attention,
right.
So
I think I'm happy to bring it up with Will again. I did bring it up because again, I'm not shy. I brought it up to Will and I said, if that's what everybody's paying, that's the policy, I'll pay it. But if not, then I shouldn't be paying it. And
did you get an explanation why you were moved from status of non-resident
No.
to
No.
taxpayer to non-resident?
Well, no, the move, well, two things happened. They moved me to the 25-foot slip, which I asked to be moved back. And I did not get any further explanation other than all transient seasonals are considered non-residents.
I'd like Will to be here to kind of shed a light on all that. I'm not comfortable commenting myself on any of this until I hear Will's explanation as to why this has happened. And I think he needs to address our committee to explain that because we are receiving concerns from people about that particular issue.
And I'll tell you, Dave, that there are people just like me, and I know a couple of them, who are scared to bring it up because they're worried they won't be selected to get another transient seasonal slip next year.
Well, that's not right.
Right. They're just, that's the way it works, and I get it, but.
And that's what they've said to me. Doug, is the slip waiting list, is it online? Is it on the town website?
It is, it's under slips. It took me a while to find it.
Is it up to date?
I actually have a copy of it here.
Is it 2022?
Sorry about that. It's not dated, but you'd have to go onto the website, look for a link for slips, and then you'll see the waiting list.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But previously, you go to the page at the top, there's still somebody, McKinsey or somebody really needs to look at the website and update it, which is just a general comment as well, like a work list item. Why do we have things in there from events from 2020, 2 years ago? It doesn't show well, obviously, and it's not informative for people who are looking for information.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to read the motion. Kevin.
No, go read the motion, Joe.
Okay. The Marina Advisory Committee directs the chair to draft a letter of ongoing serious marina concerns. The letter is addressed to the harbor master and copied to the town administrator with an invitation to the town administrator to attend our next meeting. Consider, I just thought of an additional last sentence to add. This is addressed again to the harbor master. The committee requests your responses to the stated concerns at our next meeting, which would be 2 weeks after that. Comments, corrections, what would you like?
Fine with me.
Any other comments? Okay, a motion, Martha, you made the motion, correct?
Right.
And do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, second by Kevin. Any discussion? Okay,
Got it.
roll call vote, Doug,
Hey,
okay, Martha,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Kevin, did I call on you?
No, but aye.
Joe, I. Okay, I will get to work on that. I will email it to you.
And then, Joe, do you have to, in the next, because of the holiday coming up, probably by the end of the week, you should make a notice about that meeting in 2 weeks, so we don't get caught with a timeline?
You mean a posting?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, good point with the holiday. I will post it early
By the
next
end-
week.
How about by the end of the week, maybe? Just to make sure that,
Let's see, I'm looking at the calendar. Let's see. It needs 2 weeks. I can post it. I can try and post it by Friday.
yeah, how much time does it need?
Oh, it needs 48 hours.
Okay.
I
Well-
think good.
guys, I just realized I'm down in Connecticut on a meeting at 7 on another town issue. Do you need me there?
2 weeks, 2 weeks
How
is
about
the
the 14th?
14th.
Yeah, the 14th is when I'm down in Connecticut.
Oh,
But can we do it on Zoom?
My hearing's at 7.
okay. What if we do it on the 13th?
I've got a chamber board meeting that night.
I can do Thursday, the 15th, if that works, or you could do it without me, guys. I don't want to hold you up.
No, I think we want everybody there.
Could do Monday, the 12th or
Yeah,
Thursday,
yeah.
the
How,
15th.
You won't have enough time to notice that, will you?
I have another commitment, and you do as well, Martha, a chamber event on the 12th.
12th, yep.
We could do the 21st, I guess, if we had to, right?
Well, what if we go to the 19th? How would that be? And then we can schedule it 2 weeks after that.
That's fine. With me.
Everybody else, the 19th?
With me.
So
Okay, all
Good.
right, let's write this down. 9/19.
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, the 19th's fine. Yeah.
Okay, and I will take care of the posting. I'll get the draft out to you with the list. The next item is dredging update. There was a dredging task force meeting on Monday night. The TA and assistant TA were there. Harbor Master was not. Kevin, you were there. And basically, I think we provided a bit of background and education for the TA, and that we're stalled at this point in time. Kevin and 2 other members expressed their frustration that the dredging task force has been out of the loop completely since February. It has, we've had very little to discuss. Kevin, jump in here. Anything I'm missing?
No, and I'm usually a happy guy. I don't want to come off as the frustrated individual all the time. But it just gets to a point that you're left out of the loop and there's situations going on behind the scenes Well, you show up every Monday, and as I said, I'd much rather watch the wheel than be with the committee members. But you put that time and energy in, at least you should get the respect of the people
Administration.
behind the scenes.
Yeah, we have no permit. A contractor would have to report by the 15th. Mobilizing his equipment, ready to hit the ground running for October 1st. The limited information we have is we certainly don't have a permit, and we're not close to having it. We talked a lot about process. I made a motion that was accepted for the TA to be involved with us much more from now on, and to take the initial step of talking to members of our congressional delegation and our lobbyist. And we all offered help in that, but we have to be in the loop, and we are way out of the loop. Does that sum it up, Kevin?
It's not going to happen this year, Joe.
No.
So
Okay,
having said that, I got a quick question. Where it's relatively inevitable that it's not going to happen. What's the, and I would ask Will if he was here, what's the reason why maybe we can't keep the marina open longer? Especially, in light of what he had told us, that his last charge was he wants everyone out of the water like it was last year, because he expects he's going to have to move a lot of things around to get that mooring field dredged. If it's not going to be dredged, then I don't think it's an unreasonable suggestion to keep the harbor open longer.
to the usual October 15th date.
Correct.
Okay. Does anybody know or have any information? Kevin, do you know anything about that?
I didn't even know he said anything, to be honest with you, David.
No, he had told us earlier on, because his expectation was that the mooring basin was going to be dredged, that he wanted everything out of the water September 15th. I don't remember the date exactly, but I know it's close to that he wanted them out again like it was last year.
Well, I'm as dumb as I look. I know nothing.
Well, I'm encouraged. I'm encouraged to hear you say that, Joe, because I was embarrassed to confess that this is the first I'm hearing of this season. I remember it being discussed last summer. And some of you may remember I asked last fall that several folks had come forward to me and said, hey, if we got a short season this year and we're paid the same fee, can we get some kind of credit next year on our lease next year? And when I brought it up, Will said, oh no, that would be against the law. Those were his exact words. And he said, plus you're getting all this benefit. I don't want to hear any complaints about having to be out of the water 30 days early, because next year you're going to have so much access. Well, everybody's going to have access. And that wasn't part of the deal, but it circles me back to the lease question. I haven't signed a lease in years. I used to sign leases. I'd get them, I'd sign them, I'd bring them back down. Since we've gone to this mooring app, I don't know if the lease is part of that process, but I haven't seen or signed a lease. And I don't want to emphasize that too much, because if I don't have a lease, I'm basically a tenant at will, no pun intended. And if I make waves, I may be told, get out, you don't have a lease.
Well, that's a huge liability for the town. Should you ram your boat into somebody and hurt them? Everybody knows that. Let me just share very quickly about dredging, as a longtime member of the dredging task force. We are on precarious ground here. The state doesn't have money every year. This year they gave us $2.5 million. It has to go back if we're not going to have dredging. We don't know what the state's financial situation is going to be year to year. as Kevin can shared with you, as one who was up until last February, always involved in the process of lobbying and securing funding and permits, and we accomplished the channel dredging and the inner harbor dredging. That process has been junked completely. It has been completely turned around and put in the hands of one person, the harbor master. I'm only one person on the dredging task force, and I've made my views clear. Kevin did, 2 other members did. We don't know in what direction the select board is going to go with that in terms of managing the dredging effort. But I can share with you that we've not gained any real ground.
Just to clarify, it's in mitigation. They're looking for a land swap for the dredging area. So if they allow us to dredge, we have to swap. I think it's like what, 124 acres, Joe?
It's 24 acres and we have a choice. They would assess a fee. It's $14.26 a square foot. There are 958,000 square feet in the mooring field, and that comes out to $13.5 million. Okay, or we said you can give them some land, like Kevin said, and my response was, well, 70% of the town is federal property and another 10% is in conservation. They didn't even know that. They didn't even know that the seashore, has jurisdiction over most of the town land. I won't take your time. It's getting late. I can share factual documented information with you one-on-one if you want, but they are a very, very tough outfit. And Wellfleet needs skilled, experienced negotiators at the table. If you go back when the state of Massachusetts blocked our getting a permit because of the diamondback terrapin turtles in the harbor, okay? Harry Turkanian and I negotiated representing the town. We brought them way down, gave them a small fee. They were happy. We were happy. We got the permit and moved on. That is not the present process. And I'll leave it at that.
Perfect.
Kevin?
I agree. While we're addressing that September 15th pulling out, it's been brought up to me by a couple of other charter boat people, as well as myself, as a concern. Why don't we go earlier in the season, like May 1st? I mean, I'm good with October 15th as a pulling out date, but flounder season opens up early.
Yep.
And it'd be nice if we could, start earlier for at least our businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin,
Right.
I'm a pleasure boater. Unlike the charter people who depend on the money, it's strictly pleasure for me.
Yeah,
My feeling is that the charter people, it's their livelihood. They need to come together and express something like that.
yeah. And I think the recreational boater would benefit. I mean, if they're going to increase
certainly.
fees that much, like Ed had said, it'd be nice to give you something.
You know what though, Kevin? Wellfleet's such a funny place, right? I mean, you're around all the time. My boat was the only boat on its mooring last year at the beginning of June. I literally was out there by myself, me and the cormorants, who hadn't really come in yet. And it's a nightmare, right? I don't even think people want to put their boats in early, other than you guys, which I fully respect and understand. The reality is Will doesn't get the slips in early enough for you guys. So maybe you could use some other dock in the meantime. But I think the regular pleasure boater in Wellfleet, funny breed, unlike down in Falmouth or, other towns that can't wait to get in. You drive on Route 6, what is it, in Yarmouth, you see that marina on the right across the bay, the thing's full and by May 1. There's not a boat in the harbor in May 1.
Doug, to follow up on that, and I think you're accurate. On the other end, there are a lot of boaters who want to go later than October 15th. Okay. We come out the earliest of any marina on the Cape. Okay, Alfred Pickard expressed this to me and asked me to share with the committee that over 50%, and he has 70% the moorings in the harbor, over 50% of his customers want to go later than October 15th.
That surprises me when there's nobody else out there. Like, I started pulling my boat out in Labor Day weekend because the birds just attack it if you're one of only few, you know? And it was so bad when I couldn't even get on my boat. I was going to go fishing my last trip in the middle of September. I couldn't even step on it. It was so full of shit. And I said, that's it. I actually went right to the dock, pulled it out and pressure washed it and, wasted a day. And that was in the middle of September. So although I appreciate there may be some, they never leave them in anyway.
Doug, check that 20-year waiting list you're on for a slip. See if you can move up and then your bird problems will be solved.
I know. I'm telling you, it's killing me. No, I'm only kidding. But
Okay.
The May thing is weather. I've watched it for years, and I'm sure Dave has also. It's all weather dependent. If you have a couple of warm weekends, they'll put their boats out. But you're absolutely right. If it's cold, those boats don't. You can tell what type of summer it's going to be if the boats aren't in by Memorial Day.
right. Yeah.
No,
Well, I would say that, the Oyster Fest is what, the middle of October roughly. There were still boats in slips. A lot of the moorings were empty, but the slips are still there, which is what's fun about it. You can still use it into October, those beautiful days, which
But
definitely
most
count.
of the slips are they're in by May. They were at least this year in by May.
Yeah.
So I mean, if I don't know what we would have to do to suggest that, just to open it up, open that lease up a little bit more, the season up a little bit more.
The marina I managed, guys, we were open April 15th, October 15th. That was the season in Boston.
Yeah.
We got six full months,
well, with global warming, we may be seeing warmer weather.
Yeah.
In the spring and in the fall, and the fall's a beautiful boating time.
Yep. And great fishing.
Yeah, I pull my boat at the last minute, always.
Yeah. New business and future concerns. I think we have a list. I'll get anything else? Do we have a motion to adjourn at, what time is it?
8:36.
Okay, thank you. 8:36, a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Yeah, before we vote on that, if one or more of you learn that the season is going to go the normal route beyond September 15th, would you shoot out an informational email to the committee so we're all aware of that?
I would think that the gold standard would be somebody look at the lease that they signed this season and see what the terms of the lease were.
Well, didn't it say September 15th? I think it did.
I haven't seen a lease in years.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think the lease I signed. Did yours, Martha, say
I
September?
think it said the 15th, yeah.
I mean, the reality is Will or the staff should be posting on the website so everybody knows, right? Not just the six of us.
Yeah.
But that was all done predicated on the fact that they thought the dredging was going to start,
Right. Well, if anybody hears anything, if you'd send everybody out an email, that would be appreciated. Thank you, everybody. A motion to adjourn.
Second,
Who made it?
Martha.
Martha made it. I'll second it.
Kevin, second. Thank you. Okay, roll call. Doug,
Am I voting on the motion?
to adjourn, yes.
Yep, right.
Kevin, Martha, David,
Hi.
Ed.
Yes, please.
Joe, yes. Thank you very much.
Have a good night.
Good
Thank
night.
Good night, guys.
Bye-bye.